Welcome to the Where's Buffy podcast, where we're built for comfort and not for speed.
Hashtag shooting the five.
Yo. I'm not from Philly, but I'm repping today. Peace to the Buffy. Shouts to anybody paying. Is anybody paying attention? I hope y'all paying attention. This is Where's Buffy podcast, where we're built for comfort,
Not for speed.
Talk about it. Shouts out to fam. Shouts out to Brock, Kill, Math, the whole Buffy crew. Fam, you good? You mobile? You on the move right now?
Yeah. Little fam got a basketball game we on the way to. Whole family in the car. You know what I mean? Moms, Mrs. Fam. So mama fam, Mrs. Fam, little fam, all the fams in here.
Oh my God! It's a championship game. Or it's just that's how people come out to see the basketball.
Yeah, we just got to be out sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Crew D. Well, I mean, Crew D is good that we still around today because we had a good conversation the other day. Me, you, and Brother Kill. We were offline. Had a back and forth about. I guess Dante Ross had tweeted some things about Kool G Rap that had the timeline going crazy.
Yo, funny enough, Kool G Rap put an album out today.
Seriously?
Yeah, it wasn't on Tidal when I looked, so I didn't get a chance to check it. But yeah, Kool G Rap put out an album today, which I thought was great considering the conversation we had. I hope somebody heard it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It should be. I'm hoping it's good, man. I got faith in Brother G Rap.
Nah, yeah, I need to. It's funny enough that this conversation comes up with him having a new album out. If you in the chat and you rock with G Rap and you heard the album, let us know what it's like. I'm not going to take up too much time because I think honestly this conversation that we have kind of explains everything. Again, shouts out to Brother Kill. Me, him, and fam had a conversation the other day about Dante Ross's comments about G Rap, what that means about G Rap as a legend, and the idea of the second tier legend. So without further ado, I think we're just gonna get into this. Peace of the Buff.
As you see, you know what I'm saying, it's different folks than what you've seen in the intro. We're here to kind of have a couple little conversation and whatnot. Hey, Brother Kill, what can you tell the folks about what went on with Dante Ross a little bit ago?
From what I understand, because I ain't really see the OG tweet, I just see Kool G Rap is trending. Click on that, see people talking reckless. From what I heard, Dante said something to the extent of that Kool G Rap was a tier below his like classic MC list. So I think it was something like maybe you said Rakim, Kane, and G Rap was kind of under them. And I think it was to some extent of like, you know, his either his groupies or his followers, something. He said some name. And it was like, you know, y'all probably wild out or whatever. And like then everybody was just going in on Dante, yo, you a white boy, you this, you that, you this. And I'm sitting here like, yo, the boy said he never said G Rap was whack. He never said G Rap didn't make good music. He just said he was a tier below two MCs that he thought was better than that. You know what I mean? And, you know, Twitter lose their mind. And I think I kind of came in like, I guess I felt it because I felt some kind of way because that's how niggas come to me all the time. Like, yo, I ain't never said somebody was whack. This nigga Conductor Williams. I just said, yo, he uses tag too much. That's all I said was he uses his tag too much. Not that his beats are whack, not that his tag is whack. I just said, yo, he uses it too much. And here come the AM trackers coming in like to defend they Conductor Williams. I'm like, yo, this boy got stands. Like, yo, this boy just neither here nor there. So I kind of understood the problem that Dante was dealing with. And I'm like, here's the funny part with you niggas. Half of y'all niggas don't have G-Rap in your top 10 list.
That's true. That's a good point.
So-
Now the one thing that he did do that I always thought the worst insult, right? Nigga, you call me a sucker, a punk, or you know what I mean, expletive that starts with F that we're not supposed to use no more. You call me all of that.
Correct.
Right? You call me a clown, I might be like, not now, but like, you know, in my fighting weight days, like when I was okay to fight, you call me a clown, I might be more prone to get active because now you're attacking my cool, right?
Right.
When Dante Ross said what he said, part of it was he said, I never got, and that was, I don't get, it's kind of non-committal, but then he says, I don't get the cult of Cool G Rap.
Yeah, he had to clean something up about using the word cult. I saw a tweet about that. Yeah.
He said, I never got the cult of Cool G Rap. They're a weird one. Weirdos is one of the terms like nowadays that really is going at niggas cool. Like, come on, fool with them weird niggas, man. And I know I've called niggas weird before, and I know what I meant when I said weird. So it was very strange because I know what a Cool G Rap fan looks like. He looks old. His clothes are baggy. He is, if he ain't in line for a new pair of Timberlands right now, next couple weeks, you know what I mean?
He's waiting for jokes. He waiting for his next check to clear, basically.
Right. He made jokes about them baby oil butters that they put on the timeline a couple weeks ago.
Shiny.
That guy that's still on Twitter that is a Cool G Rap fan is an older guy who is, built from certain stock. When you call them niggas weird, because they so used to calling other niggas weird. I hate these little weird young niggas.
Right.
When you call them weird, that's the button.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he poked a hole in their insecurity. Cool G Rap is one of those names that you're supposed to be able to mention and nobody could say something wrong.
Mm.
And I think that is what we ran into here. There's niggas that I think all of us, especially me, Kill, that will mention from time to time and not quite the most positive light. And niggas be ready to like, no, you can't say that. My takes on Tupac haven't been the most well received.
I'm in good company then, huh? Because I keep your head up. Nah, but it's crazy because the way that it's not like the Pete Rocks, but like there's a number of people who fall into a certain category of I've been on the internet and I've been a hip hop fan so long, I feel like I can kind of lord and it's still a lot of old thinking too. Like at a certain point, somebody said G-Rap is one of those guys, and regardless of what, because it's not like he stopped putting out music, but regardless of what came out, it's like he kind of rode that wave of being this OG. And I mean, we were talking offline the other day, the OG, kill a motherfucker. But like at a certain point, there was a style of hip hop you were looking for, and G-Rap was kind of like fathering that for a lot of people. So it's kind of like getting props because you were a pioneer at something, but I think the thing is very quickly there are a lot of people who were able to level up on that and gain success to where if you didn't know about G-Rap at a certain point, you might not know about G-Rap because there's 5-10 other people that are rapping just as well, if not, a little below, but are, have a little more buzz and a little younger and able to get in people's faces a little quicker. So it's interesting because I understand the conversation when Dante Ross says, that's why I appreciate what Kill was saying about, kind of being pissed at the timeline and the way they react to things, because the man can have an opinion. He's been Dante Ross. That's not like that's somebody who just.
But you know what, Cal? To hold you for a second,
right.
Most people don't know who Dante Ross is.
Right.
So that's where we can start right there.
Right.
What folks see on Twitter, and again, I'm a big component. I've said this a million times. I'm a die on this hill. White people are not guests to me in hip hop. That's my.
I agree.
They're not guests in hip hop.
I agree
because there are black people. There are black people who are.
There are black people that are more in guests of hip hop than some white people are.
Facts.
The thing is when on Twitter with Black Twitter, if a white person says anything that's remotely not in line with what they believe, it then becomes he's a white guy. Fuck does he know?
White motherfucker. What you know about the
right.
rule of hip-hop?
Not even knowing that this is the dude who signed Pete and CL, leaders of the new KMD, Rand Nubians, De La Soul, not understanding where it is. And then, but I'm sorry, Kyle, I just wanted to, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that because the other part is people are like, who the fuck is Dante Ross? So to even say this, and I'm not defending him as just because you were an excellent A&R, you have the right to say anything. He could have been a white boy from Kentucky for all I care. You have the right to say whatever you want to say. If you believe Eminem is the best MC ever and Rakim is 2 tiers under him, so that's your belief, But I just want people to also understand some of these people who would comment, number one, didn't know who Dante Ross was, and number two, don't even got G-Rap in their top 10. So it's like, nigga, ain't you the pot calling the kettle black? Like, nigga, you don't cap for G-Rap like that.
Facts.
I feel like that's the two niggas is joning on each other, and like somebody in the crowd laughed too hard, and you turn around like, nigga, you can't join.
Right.
You better chill out.
Right.
And that's what they were doing. They was trying to do to Dante Ross.
Word. But that led us.
I'm sorry. Keep going, Kyle.
No, go ahead.
I think the thing too is, and it's funny you said that, fam. When he said the cult of G-Rap, I just think, bro, I'm 48. I was raised in the 80s crack era. We talked about each other's mothers. We talked about the women who gave birth to us, the women who would die for us. We joked about them every day. If somebody tells me I'm the cult of Dilla, I'm in no way offended by that at all. I don't know if that's because I got thicker skin than niggas. I don't know what it is. But if you tell me, oh, you one of them cult of Dilla niggas, I'm not offended by that. Like, I'm in no way ready to come back on the keyboards, like, with this frantic, mad energy. Like, the cult, like, if he would have been like, yo, you sucking ass nigga. Oh, can I? No, we ain't at 10 yet. You sucker people who
don't worry.
Don't like
the same time. We good.
Okay. You sucker ass niggas, motherfuckers don't like Dilla. Okay. You call me a sucker ass motherfucker, like, okay. But the cult of G-Rap, like, again, but that's just me, and I get it. The bulk of people my age is not Twitter. Okay, the 45 and over crowd, we may be 20% of Twitter. So that other 80% of young folk may be insulted by a cult because they didn't come up in the era where niggas talk shit all the time, or even calling somebody a weirdo, or I don't know. I'm just like, yo, people get so upset and over. I'm like, bro, like, yo, when people talk about MF Doom, I love it when people get on the timeline and say things like, yo, Kill, man, I am a stan of MF Doom, but that shit was whack. Like, I appreciate that. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for being able to say that you're a stan, but also being able to say, nah, I wasn't feeling that album, or yo, that was whack, or when MF Doom would have other people come out and pretend like that. Like, you know what I mean? I respect the fact that people could do that. Again, I just think people saw some white boy say some shit that they didn't like, and it was like, let's get him. Let's get him.
You got to also remember, like I said earlier, man, Cool G tends to be, because to be honest, I mean, you have to say that, like, Cool G has had an impact, and I guess Cool G's gotten that reputation because a lot of the guys that we'll end up talking about later on today, all of them say, well, who are your influences? Rakim, Cool G Rap. Like that Big Daddy Kane, like those three names immediately consistently come up. And it's been one of those things. Bet not nobody say nothing bad about Miss Johnson. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't talk about G-Rap because G-Rap has ascended into a certain tier of MC that is supposedly, and hip-hop is notorious for this.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to say anything bad because he's in the special pantheon. Now, let me be honest. In 2022, twice this year, there have been songs featuring Kool G Rap that I was like, God dang it, I'm glad he's here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I think it was a joint he had with Alchemist, and then he did a joint with Jay Royale this year. Both of those records I loved, I bang consistently now. So let me not say, you know, Kool G does hold a special place for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not one of those guys who believes that any name in the history of hip-hop, be it Biggie or Tupac, Jay-Z or Nas, any of these MCs, you know what I'm saying, that people put on pedestals are above. I heard I know what girls like. So I understand that everybody got some smut on their jacket.
Right, of course. 100%. But I think the one thing that people need to remember is A, times are always going to change, and B, at a certain point, like the Source has done it, other people, we can revisit these things that we held as great or held on in a certain classification, and knowing, you know, how things have gone since and what we know now. Not to say that the rhymes are any whacker or the beats don't knock as hard, but in the context of the pantheon of great hip-hop releases, if something isn't making the mark into that upper echelon, it just isn't. Even if it's still very influential and was very impactful, it could just be too many other doper shits before it. That's just how it is. There's too much hip-hop. That's not a problem. But when you're talking a proper and knowing, being somebody who likes to, you know, rank things and put them in the proper context, it's you can't discourage that process. You really can't. Some people want to have that conversation. Some people want to know who are the best, what's on the Mount Rushmore, you know, what are your top 5 dead or alive. Like, these conversations are ones that need to be had. I can understand if you don't like where you are, or if you don't think that people are giving your MC the proper place in it. But if you can't have a real conversation about how things fit into the current discussion of hip hop in the context of hindsight about what happened, as well as, you know, the impact going forth, you know, maybe these are conversations you need to sit out. Maybe you just need to put the music on and enjoy that and let other people actually, you know, discuss what's going on in the culture.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Problem. It's not even like Dante said anything bad. He just said he's a tier below. Which no, what are you gonna say?
I had a problem with him saying, the two things I had the problem with is him saying, I don't get it, right? Which he's entitled to not getting it. But when folks say I don't get it, a lot of times it's really like non-committal. I'm not saying he's whack, but I'm also like he's
not like he's not going to try.
Like, he's definitely not shining a positive light on Kool G with his comment.
Right.
Right. And when he called niggas weird, you know, I think you people are weird. I don't think he said you people.
Do this. Let's stay with the first part. When you say I don't get it, like, for instance, I don't get Mega. I do not get the hype behind Core Mega. I have tried numerous times. I don't get it. But there are people out here who love Core Mega, namely a bunch of Queens niggas who love Mega. But
that's
I'm
okay.
just being honest with you. I don't get it, and I
don't get it.
But this album,
but I don't get it. Isn't the right verbiage? The right verbiage is I don't like it, because that's what you're saying.
Oh, well, I mean, I see what you're saying. For me, I've come out and said I'm not a fan of Mega. I'm not a fan. I think the whole I don't get is if, and then again, it's all about context. It's all about context because I can only assume he's saying he's a step below Kane and Rakim. So from that context, the only thing I could assume, which is an assumption, is that maybe people had G-Rap above them. So if you have G-Rap above them, I can sit here and say, I don't get how you can have G-Rap above Kane and Rakim. I'm not mad at it. Now, namely because here's the bigger point. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what people think. So that's the bigger problem for me. Like, it's always like, yo, if you say you don't like Dilla, okay, cool. I don't give a fuck if you like Dilla. I'm not Dilla's fucking bodyguard. I call these niggas, you know, the Secret Service. These niggas ready to take a bullet for their favorite rapper. Like, I'm not, if you don't like Dilla, you don't like Dilla. It's cool. What's next? See, what's next on the menu?
That speaks to a bigger problem with the barbershop talks and the you know, the hip hop pundits that are always around, is that there are certain things that people in hip hop accept as truths, and there are no such thing as truths when it comes to art, right? Biggie was nice is still an opinion, even though most people agree that Biggie was nice. It's still an opinion. You can't. If I hate Big's voice, which seems sacrilegious, right? But just,
that sounds crazy. But I yeah, somebody said that before.
If I don't like Big's voice, you can't tell me to like. I'm not listening to a voice or a whole album full of someone with a voice that I don't care for, Meek Mill. And when we sit here and listen and put albums as to, and I'm gonna pose a question after this. If I can't listen to your album, there's no way I can say you're great. But now all these folks that have assumed that there is a such thing as a hip hop fact, other than maybe dates and releases and that sort of thing, there are no such. Yeah, those are hip hop facts. But the cultural stuff, the music stuff, the quality is all opinion. And I say all that to ask, though, is what exactly do we define as a hip hop legend?
Gosh,
I mean, I know for me, it's influence on the game. It's discography. It's because we did this on 5B. We did legends versus a pioneer. And the pioneers were more like, you know, Flash, you know, someone who was the first. You know, that kind of led the wave of pioneers. You were the first to, you know, rap on the mic. You were the first to, you know, do the parties. Those are more like Flash. They were the pioneers, and the legends were, you know, again, I can't remember, but it definitely was influence. For me, it's your discography, your longevity in some parts. You know what I'm saying? And then also being able to navigate through the times, which I think we have to. Now that I'm older, I look at things and I kind of feel like I kind of got to put an asterisk on a lot of things when it comes to your discography. You know what I mean? Because you're on a label, which I attribute to you live at home with your parents. So you still have some rules to follow. You know what I mean? Like, you could be 48. If I move back home with my pop, this boy could be like, yo, be home by 11 p.m. every night. And it's like, nigga, like, I'm 48. Like, hey, and if you live in this house, you got to be in the house by 11 o'clock. Now, here's the situation I got. I can go to an indie label, move out on my own, you know what I mean? Start my own label, but now I got to pay all the bills. So there's a gift and curse with everything. So the curse of being on a major label is maybe your label did come in and be like, yo, Cal, yo, man, we need some New Jack Swing for this new album. No Premier Large Professor on this album. We need some New Jack Swing.
We need some of that Dum Dum Diddy.
Yeah, we need Swiss. We need Swiss. So we need you to get on the radio more. So, you know, I'll never forget when Mike Geronimo came out with that second album with Making Moves with Puff. I was like, yo, nigga, how you go from Master Your High to Making Moves with Puff? And, you know, and in 97, I'm 22, so I'm a kid. I'm like, fuck Mike Geronimo. I'm 48. Maybe that's what that nigga's contract made him do. Maybe that's what that nigga label made him do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
part of that shit was siphoned out to get him that money for that hit. Yeah.
Right. Or like it says in the Bible, as a child, I thought as a child, you know, so it was just like, okay, that's whack, man. I would never do that. But bro, like, yo, if it's either do this music or go back to selling crack, or do this music or go back to robbing it. I never forget when Trent said in Rhyme No Reason, that movie, he was like, yo, if I wasn't rapping, I'd be robbing you in your house right now.
Right. Facts.
You know what I mean? So
you up.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I also gotta understand these boys had to pay, you know, do what they had to do. So sometimes in life, discography kind of can get an asterisk, because I understand now it's not just about the music you wanted to put out. You know what I mean? That a lot of times you had to go through channels, there were fights, we don't want to do this song, or you gotta do this song, and you know, but I mean, I definitely think the Legends it's really a lot of it for me is your influence on the game. Like, what did you bring different to the table? What were you doing that nobody else was doing before you? You know, so
Cal, what's a legend to you?
No, I actually everything Kill was saying kind of I think the discography is always a big thing for me, and I like the asterisk because it's tough because like there's somebody like a Biggs. You mentioned Big earlier. Like Biggs got 2 albums, like 2 actual studio albums that came out. But when you talk about, again, the fam said if it sounds like sacrilege to say that, you know, Biggie wasn't nice or his voice sounded crazy, whatever the case may be. But when you think back then how hard of an MC he was, and some of his biggest songs was straight up, you know, R&B jams. You feel what I'm saying? Like he knew how to work within those times, and he was able to make hits when for a while you may not have expected a cat like that to be able to pull off some of those smoother records. So I'm very much biased on someone like Biggie. So, you know, I can understand if somebody may not have him so high, but as a kid, I was a teen starting to understand how things were going on in the world and seeing his rise from the oversized fucking bad boy jersey to, you know, in the goddamn Hypnotized video and shit like that. That was a real, you know, ghetto success story. And I think you can't discount stuff like that when you're talking about the goats, you know, the legends, the greatest of all time, because that impact is major. What's the one stats, like the first $1 million video, whatever it is, for Hypnotized? I mean, it was just a couple years ago where they said that hip hop was officially the world's biggest music genre or whatever, and he was doing that years ago. So I don't know. It's a lot of it's subjective because it is art, but I think the impact, discography is big, but I think the impact for me is always going to trump some of the other things, because you can't deny stuff like that.
I'm gonna agree pretty much with the concept of, you know, certain things, and to kind of put it in perspective, Diz always says, shout out to Diz, shout out to Brock, shout out to Matt. Diz always says, you know, you rank rappers by like their sliders, right? Like the NBA 2K sliders, where, you know, his speed and agility and shooting. So it's discography, longevity, niceness, you know what I mean, level of skill, excuse me, impact, and, you know, ability to do different things. So I always thought, like, there are a lot of guys who can push all the sliders up. I think with the Legends, they have the sliders full, not all the sliders, you know what I mean? Because some, like, maybe if he doesn't have that discography, but his influence is all the way up, i.e. a Cool G Rap, then you can still reach that legend status with I think what can only be described to me or by me as intangibles. So there's that certain je ne sais quoi, you know what I'm saying, that a nigga might got, that everybody seems to feel this guy. Everybody seems to push this guy high. This guy's impacted people without having, you know, XYZ, but he's been able to impact a great deal of people. And I think for me, that is what I think makes a legit legend is someone whose impact has staying power. So whatever their imprint of the game, maybe it switched things, but 20 years, 30 years later, people is still talking about, yo, as one of those guys that did something for me, you know what I'm saying, as far as hip hop goes, and because, you know, and it's been 30, 40 years,
Word.
and we can still say it impacted. And I think that to me is what's going to give you your legend. So many folks, you know, we're known here at the Where's Buffy for the shooting of 5. And for this conversation, first of all, 5 isn't enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And a Mount Rushmore is even less.
Word.
But here's the thing, is when you start to talk about legends, most of these guys are, as Brother Kill would say, 5 mic MCs for the most part.
Right.
But I think there are levels of these guys. There are definitely levels to legends. So we decided to have a conversation about the tiers of hip hop legends. To break it down, there'll be 4 legends per round. So it's like 4. You actually have 3 Mount Rushmore. So 3 groups of 4. And I feel like the top tier is more of the layup for everybody. I think that it's easier to fill out that 1 through 5 side. It's like the BRP 50. It's easier to fill out that top slot when you start getting into that middle slot. When somebody tells you Busta Rhymes is not a top 20 MC, it's almost infuriating because you say, oh, he can't be number 19. Really?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's really more difficult to have that conversation. So let's start with the top. And we'll have discussion. Who wants to set it off with their top tier MCs? They four God tier, top tier to top tier. Anybody want to set it off?
I'll go with mine. I've not made I always sidestep this question. So I always have my favorites, and then I have to sit and actually put my hip hop hat on it and kind of weigh the two. So if I'm being honest, and it was probably solidified when the one verses the most recent verses I sat and watched front to back was Kane versus KRS. And love Kane. I think there's issues with Kane, and I understand the conversation of maybe Kane isn't in Mount Rushmore. I totally get it. Oh, he's got phenomenal lyrics on phenomenal records that, niggas ain't touching that shit. But rewatching KRS on stage in a slot where he originally wasn't slated to be in, and rip these, and these are songs that I remember when I was a shorty, you know what I'm saying? Really just seeing MTV and getting into hip hop and understanding, BDP and Scott LaRock and all this, you know what I mean? He was a constant for me for probably from then up until he started beefing with Nori. It was that album wasn't bad, but it was sometime after that. It was kind of like, all right, KRS, we go apart for a little bit. But you
mean Nelly?
Nelly, yeah, I'm sorry, I said Nori, but I meant Nelly. Yeah, the guy with the Band-Aid on his face. When I think of like what impact discography, like classic records. I mean, I probably love I love the dance hall, again, BDP, all that. KRS was like my guy for a while. He has to get a spot. The other, I mean, obviously, like I had to put Nas up there. I think, especially with the way Nas has been lately, he's kind of, I don't want to say he's had like, it's not been a bell curve because he went like up, went down. Now he's on the up again. He's going up. So and he's just got there's too many classics. There's too many classic rhymes. He's been so good for so long, and him being able to get better kind of at his own pace right now I kind of wish he was able to do this 20 years ago. I would have loved to have seen him actually get a real Dilla record back when Dilla was around. They could anyway. So Nas has got a spot. Because Nas has got a spot, and when you look at the careers and you look at longevity, and look at the success, I can't not have Hove up there. I think when you look at, again, being able to build a full career on top for a while and actually be able to continue to ascend regardless of how people feel about some of these feature verses these days, I don't think there's a way you can have you can have Hove not in your list, but for me it's hard. And finally, like I was talking about Big earlier, I have to put Big up there. I was battling back and forth with it, but because of a lot of stuff I said earlier in regards to really feeding the streets, but knowing how to make those records that could still impact radio and really be the driving force for an entire label, which was like an entire sound in one, very, very important era of hip hop. So yeah, that's my top four. I know what you said, fam. I still feel like it wasn't as easy of a layup for me, but I'll be going back and forth on these things.
So that's the one thing, and I'm gonna go next, and the reason why is because I had three of the same MCs, and pretty much for the same reasons. Jay's one of the most on purpose rappers of all time. Everything he set out to do, he's done it.
Word.
Nas is the guy who brought the East Coast back, helped bring the East Coast back. He created his magnum opus. Illmatic is widely recognized as the greatest album of all time, and I do share that opinion. And couple that with his last 3 to 4 projects, which this late in his career has never been done before. No one's ever been this consistent this late in their career. So Nas has to go there. KRS is just really the father of everything that I enjoy about hip hop, the live performance, content, socially conscious content in your rhymes, a little bit of street as well. And he kind of mixes it all in, which is because, everything, no one is one thing all the time. I did not have Big in place of Big, though. I had Rakim. Rakim is easily one of the guys who changed the game, where rappers went to the street and to the beat, like the ha to, what I'm saying, I put 7 MCs, put them in a line, what I'm saying? So I think because of his impact, Ra deserves a spot on my top tier of the top tier.
Word. Brother
Kill, what you got?
I'm gonna set it off with my number one is Big. You know what I mean? And to kind of touch on some of the things that Cal said when we're talking about legends, one thing I've realized, a lot of people who say they're fans of somebody necessarily really don't know everything, because I've been in barbershop talks with people. Big's only got 2 albums. Well, see, bro, you probably wasn't around in the 90s, because a mixtape, song on a mixtape was just as big as a song on an album. Dreams, Big's Dreams, being at Morgan, being in NY, being in Philly when Dreams would come on.
Classic.
Come on, motherfucker, with Sadat X, the Lord Finesse version.
Come on,
the Lord Finesse, exactly. Not the one that ended up on that after he died album, the Lord Finesse version.
Right.
His cameos on Pudgy the Fat Bastard, Think Big. See, people don't know about those. Say Pudgy the Fat Bastard to somebody at your job, and they gonna be like, "The fuck, Pudgy the what?"
It's HR.
Right. So you got the cameos. You got Big. I always give props to Heb, because Heb was really the first to do what I call the heaven and hell.
I like that.
And what I mean by the heaven and hell is giving you that radio single you don't really like, but then coming back with that banger. You know what I mean? So, Heb could do that. I hated that Black Coffee joint, but then he come out, but when you can't see what it would be like, oh God, or,
you're blind, baby.
You come out with something, and you come out with, you know what I mean? You come out with Who's the Man off the Who's the Man soundtrack.
Right.
So Heb was in my opinion, the OG of the heaven and hell. But Big to me just kind of took it to the next level, where Big could do Juicy. It's like, oh, this nigga rhyming over Juicy, but then you hear Who Shot You. Or it's like, oh man, this nigga rhyming over the bars, but then he hit you with the Unbelievable. And when you fam, when you talk about Jay with That's What Girls Like, that's what Jay and everybody else was trying to figure out. How do we make these radio songs? That City Is Mine with Blackstreet, that trash, that Sunshine with Foxy Brown and Babyface, like him trying to figure that out. Big did that with no problem. You got
Big had Puff.
Artists that he brought in. You know what I mean? You got the artists, I mean, from Kim to Junior Mafia, for him writing for them. This dude is basically carrying a whole crew on his back with his pen. You know, we ain't gonna sit here and act like Players Anthem, the original and the remix wasn't the shit. We ain't gonna sit here and act like the original Get Money and the remix wasn't the shit. This dude was the original. Source put him on there as King of New York. Wasn't nobody saying King of New York before Big? The versatility. People forget when you first heard Big on Come On, or if you just throw on Ready to Die and you hear Give Me the Loot. That's a totally different Big when you hear Unbelievable.
Right.
You literally saw him polish to become what he was coming into. You've only really seen that twice in hip hop. Black Moon with Buckshot, you can hear that in Buck because you hear How Many MCs sounds totally different than Who Got the Props. Totally different MC. You can see that How Many MCs was probably the last song that got recorded. So that's the versatility. I mean, he changed the whole game. You know what I mean? Like, and not just his flows. I'll never forget when I threw on Life After Death and I heard him doing the Bone Thug style. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't rock with Bone Thugs. I thought that shit was whack. But when Big did it, I was like,
I don't know if I rock with Bone Thugs now.
Let me ask a question. I don't know if y'all do. So the best thing about that song is that Big's verse is first. Because like y'all listen to the song.
Yo, here's the funny part. I've never listened after Big's verse. I've never heard the rest of the song. There could be the winning lottery numbers for the next 200 years that come after Big's verse. I have never in my life.
I ain't gonna bluff. I don't know what they be saying, but I can mimic the cadence. Yeah. I rock the whole. I like the record. I like the whole record though. Yeah. But
yeah, I've never heard the whole record. And then at the end of the day, when people say, "Well, Big only had 2 albums out," I'm like, bro, but if you look at the amount of songs Rakim had out in a 4-year span, and the amount of songs that were on Big's mixtapes in those 2 albums, which really was 3 albums because it was a double album, he has more songs than Eric B and Rakim had together. You know what I mean? So you also have that.
Let me ask you a question really quick is because I don't want to hold your list up, but is Life After Death, is that 5 mics for you?
No.
Okay. But if you pared it down to a single album,
if it was it definitely would be. And I mean, we also, this is the asterisk of the label you're on. You got to have some bullshit on the album. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You got to. And to be honest, like the first disc, I could rock with the first disc. It was probably that Going Back to Cali I didn't like, and you know, Player Haters I didn't like, or it was a song with Kim on there I didn't like. But for the most part, I fuck with the album hard body. And then the last thing with Big is I've seen the DJ play a 2-hour Big set. 2 hours of Big. And the dance floor never stops moving. Right. The crowd never stops. You know what I mean? So again, for me, those are the reasons that Big to me is a legend. Like, I totally get it. If somebody wants to say, hey, he only had 2 albums, I get it. No argument. I'm just letting you know why, for me, he's a legend. You know what I mean? Because no matter what you put Big on, he had a song with Shaq that Can't Stop the Rain. Are you crazy? Big's verse on You Can't Stop the Rain? Big's verse on Totals. Big's verse on Totals Can't You See? Big's verse on that joint off the No Way Out with the Which One, Michael Jordan with Jackson, krs-one. Come on, man. So that's it for Big. Next up, I got Jay. I mean, Jay's just Jay. Third, I got Nas. Nas is Nas. And then fourth, Rakim. Same reason you said, fam. I mean, Rakim just, you know, changed the game. I remember hearing My Melody for the first time and being like, yo, hip-hop can't get no better. Then hearing Eric B as president, being like, oh, no, there's no way hip-hop can get better. Then hearing I Know You Got Soul. And it just kept going. Just kept going and going and going. And I mean, he's a god MC. So those 4 would be my top tier.
So now,
and for everybody watching, also understand that nobody said G-Rap on their top tier. So again, just want to boogie it back to Dante. He said G-Rap wasn't on his top tier. Nobody here named G-Rap on their top tier.
All right, so I will say this. I purposely left off G-Rap. There are definitely, I'm going to also say this. I think that 4 that top tier has more MCs in it. I don't. For me, there are more MCs that fit in that God tier of MC. You know what I'm saying? But I purpose. You know what I'm saying? I said those 4 because those were the, like I said before, the layups. And which is why we all 3 had very similar lists.
Right. Of course.
And the rec starts to come in with that second tier of MC who may not have the same sliders as everybody else. Kill, who'd you have in your second tier?
Second tier, we're setting it off with Nas reigns supreme over nearly everyone. I think I'm always on the timeline capping for KRS because I feel like whenever people talk about changing the way MCs rhyme, we always say Rakim and nobody says KRS. When I heard Poetry, the first time I heard Poetry in 1986, I was like, yo. Poetry was before My Melody even dropped. So I don't know how Rakim just got the bag and we just ran. I feel like that's what should happen. Somebody says a name and then we just run with that shit. You know, somebody says is the greatest storyteller ever. Niggas just ran with that shit. You know what I mean? Again, yeah, I think Rakim is right there, but I know I heard if people out there watching haven't heard Poetry, go back. I always tell people this before you listen to Poetry. I want you to go back, Wikipedia hip hop in 1986. And listen to 1 or 2 or 3 other songs or albums from 1986 first to get you in that 1986 train of thought. Then go listen to Poetry and what KRS was doing. Because see, people will be like, just go listen to Poetry. Nigga, you just came from listening to J. Cole. So when you hear Poetry, it ain't going to sound amazing to you. No, I need you to go back to 1986, listen to what was going on in 85 and 86, then go put on Poetry. Then you'll be like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Because Chris was doing some shit in 86.
So context is so forgotten in hip hop.
He was doing some shit. Number 6, I got Big Daddy Kane. I mean, people ask me all the time, Kill, how you have Kane in your top 10 and this dude only got 2 albums out? I always explain to people the value of the 12-inch. See, if you weren't there, you don't understand. Discography to me just doesn't all entail albums. Mixtapes way in too. 12 inches way in too. I had to learn this from my OG. He was like, yo, Kill, T. La Rock is a top 10 MC. I'm like, yo, you don't even have a dope album. That nigga said, yo, he made It's Yours, my nigga. You got to understand, in 1984, labels weren't giving out albums deals. So all you had was a 12-inch. And It's Yours is one of the greatest hip-hop songs ever. So that shit is just as important as an album to you in 89 and 90 and 95. A 12-inch was just important to us in 84. You know, so you got to understand, Kane coming with Raw. Just Raw could live, a 12-inch could live for a year. We could just bang hip Raw for a year. You know what I mean? Then Set It Off came and we could just run with that for a year. Then we got Ain't No Half Stepping and we ran with that. Then he threw us the Lean On Me from the Lean On Me soundtrack and we ran with that for a year. You know, the Radford K ran for that. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that the 12-inch meant so much. Then the next up I got LL. I don't know why people don't mention LL more. Bro, LL's radio came out when I was fucking 1984. I'm 10 years old. I Shot You with him holding his own with Prodigy, Keith Murray, Fat Joe came out in 95. Bro, that's an 11-year span.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? Not too many people can say, now was there dips and dives in L? Yeah, I call him the every other rapper. He's like, you know, radio big and deaf, and then it was Walking with a Panther, but then it was Mama Said Knock You Out, then it was 14 Shots in the Dome, and then Mr. Smith was kind of in the middle. But
I thought Mr. Smith was the end of his chapter. Phenomenon is to me when L got whacked, and it was a lot of whack music after that. But I honestly, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. My apologies. But I think L is really in that, and I hate LL. Like I'm not a fan of LL, the dude, but his music, man. I put a playlist on the LL music last Friday, man.
Jamming.
Hey, Uncle L, Future the Funk. I'm sorry, keep going.
Nah. And then number 8, I do have G-Rap. I have G-Rap on my second tier. You know, as that. You know. And one thing I did want to talk about, Cal, that you said that I think you said that too much hip hop isn't a problem. I almost make the difference for that it is a problem because I feel like it's almost like obesity now. You know what I mean? Like we have too much of it. Like people will say, "Yo, Kill, this my album of the year." I'm like, "Word, can you rap along with that shit?" And they like, "Nah." And I'm like, see, for me, when you look at how much music was released in a year, I mean, you go back to 88, 89, maybe it was 30 albums in the whole year, and that's spaced out. And when I say 30 albums, I'm talking about all of hip hop. So I'm talking about some West Coast stuff I ain't even really listening to, or some down south. You know what I mean? So where now you may get, yo, on a good week, you may get 10 albums and 10 mixtapes on a Friday.
Facts.
So you may get what we got in a year in 1988 in a month in 2022. And what I see people doing is they speed through it. And I always call it speed dating. Like, why you speed dating hip hop? Like, it's like somebody was like, Kill, you ain't heard Rome Steez yet? I'm like, yo, I'm enjoying this Freddie Gibbs. Right. Yo, you gotta hurry up and get on that. No, the fuck I don't. I'm gonna enjoy this Freddie Gibbs. That's what I'm going to enjoy. Right. You know, it's like when you go out and you spend money on a good steak, do you want to hurry up and eat it? Or do you want to really sit back and relax? You're like, yo, this steak is good, yo. I'm gonna enjoy the fuck out this steak. See, like, and I'm chilling.
The thing is I that's how I consume music, but I also appreciate being able, like, when I first got into Griselda, and I realized, oh shit, I could go here, and then this shit, Benny's got this, and like I could spend the rest of my life just listening to those three guys and the people that they're bringing up in the game, and that's more what I'm like. People get so caught up in the not just my opinion is right and you're wrong, but I'm going to make you be down with my opinion, when they could just spend that time being like, damn, I fuck with this artist. Maybe they don't. We can agree to disagree. I can fuck with this, and then maybe start like it's life is too damn short to be wearing like for Dante Ross to be having to go through all this shit just because the timeline is now starting to cape for G-Rap in 2022.
Bro, I tell people all the time, I'm on Twitter to discuss music, not debate it.
Right.
Debating would mean I want to change your mind. And guess what? I don't want to change your fucking mind because I don't give a fuck what you like, to be honest with you.
Right.
I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to make you like cheesesteaks. If you don't like meat, I'm not going to sit here and try to strangle you until you like a cheesesteak or dog. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly don't. And it sounds bad and it's not disrespectful. Right. It's just coming from the place of, I don't want to change your mind. I met someone when I lived in Atlanta and he told me Smooth B was the greatest MC of all time. Smooth
Is
B.
another Smooth B?
No, it's one Smooth B who's with Greg Nice, who I don't even believe he's the nicest person in his group. But neither here nor there. I don't want to change your mind. If you think Smooth B is the greatest MC ever, God bless you. The most you're going to get out of me is, what did you hear from Smooth B that made you come to this conclusion? But nothing in my heart and my spirit and my soul is going to make me want to argue with you for the next 3 hours on why it should be Rakim or Kane or whoever I believe. The most I want to know is why. That's all. At 48, I'm all argued out. I don't want to argue.
Maybe he wanted to get blunted, my brother.
May I make a mark?
Maybe that is what he wanted, bro. But that's what I mean. So I'm with you, Cal. Like, at the end of the day, like, yo, people when the Megatronics came at me about Mega, I'm like, yo, bro, here's a beautiful thing, bro. I'm glad is funny. The Megatronics. I got names for all of them. My thing was this, bro. I think it's beautiful that you like Mega and I don't. You want to know why? Because that means that man is able to feed his family. That man is able to live his dreams out. That man has a fan base. So, and it's bigger than me. It's the culture.
Kill say he ain't gonna get it from me though.
Yeah, he ain't gonna get it from me. But here's the great part: he's getting it from somebody, and that's good because if we all hated Mega and nobody's buying Mega's music, now Mega may have to go back to doing other things, which is whack for the culture. See, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than my opinion. It's about the culture for me. So I'm glad people love Mega. I don't want to try to convince you to come to my side, nigga. I don't. What the fuck you on my side? I'm more than happy being by myself. Like what you like, love what you love, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think if more people had that attitude, we could have some really dope discussions on hip hop and how to move the culture forward and how to do so much more with it. but we can't because everybody's like, no, you gotta like what I like, and you gotta hate what I hate, and we gotta come. No, nigga, yo, I am happy when people say like Mega. God bless you. I'm glad. And prayerfully, if you like him, I'm gonna challenge you. Buy his album. Don't just stream it. Just don't talk shit about it on the time. Like I can tell people.
Fridays.
Yeah, when people think I don't like Black Thought, I'm pulling out 38 Root CDs and double vinyl. So please show me if you love Thought so much. Show me you have purchased his music, because you can't cap for somebody like this on the timeline and then don't own none of their music. That makes no sense to me. Like, you can't cap for a nigga this goddamn hard, but don't own an album, don't own one CD. So again, I'm glad when people like what I don't like, and vice versa. I think that's a dope, very dope thing. Somebody told me on the timeline, yo, this Rock Marciano Alchemist album, I can't put it down. But he was like, yeah, the Freddie Gibbs album, I'm all right with that. And I said, see, I'm the opposite. Right. I can't put the Freddie Gibbs down. And the Alchemist and Rock is like, And I'm like, that's a beautiful thing, my nigga. That's a beautiful thing that it's the flip, because guess what? At the end of the day, both of those artists are getting love. And that should be the goal.
Cal, what you got?
Damn. All right. Where the hell is my list at? Okay. I got Rakim, which I love Rakim. Growing up, he was one of my favorites. I kind of wish that Rakim had more albums that I liked. I think it is as great of an MC as he is. It felt like his career was very stunted. And I don't know if that was a changing of the time thing. I don't know what happened and why he wasn't able to have the career that I assumed he would have had, especially when he went on his own. But that always bothered me.
I'm gonna say because of Doc Dre, but that's
we'll come back to that, Cal, because I got an idea on why that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got Kane on my list, and honestly, Kane is on my list, and it's kind of a similar situation. But his is more clear. Again, we were offline. We were discussing this. I feel there was a certain point where Kane just stopped.
Yeah, you can't keep pushing that sexy stuff to the niggas.
Yeah, at a certain point,
I got something for that too, Cal.
Say less. After that, I'm glad y'all mentioned LL, because I again, fam. I am not the biggest LL fan, but when I look at that time frame that he owned, bangers, I was trying to make a playlist myself the other day, just because Jingling Baby. Somebody referenced the Jingling Baby, and I was like, oh,
probably me.
It probably was.
Yeah,
and
probably me.
Just went off on it. Shouts to YouTube. The algorithm just kept going, and it was just all the classic LL. And my next one in that tier is Slick Rick. Obviously, and again, one day some nigga said Slick Rick the greatest storyteller of all time, but then Slick Rick would be gone and he would come back and then just tell a story and then just disappear. Like, you know what? That's a good ass story. I still don't. There's that verse on that one West Side album from a couple years ago.
When he was on there.
I still don't. I'm trying. That verse is a puzzle box. Like that shit is. I don't know what the code is to crack, because the lines. It sound like he took a verse and like chopped it in half and then just reassess. The lines don't sound like they make sense, but they sound good together. And I know something. One of these days, someone's going to be like, "You just take this word and you put it here," and like the whole verse opens up. But like Rick is one of those guys that he was good then, like, and he was different then. Like, you know, even when he wore his chains and his ring, like he just had a different vibe to him. And then the damn Mona Lisa. But like when I saw Children's Story the first time I saw that video, I said, nah, I'll play that, put that on tape, run that video back. I love that record, love that MC. And this tier for me, it honestly feels like the legends that for whatever reason they hit the ceiling for whatever reason, which I don't know if I'm stepping on Kill's point, but that's kind of what it feels like when I was really mapping it out.
No, so I think the thing that sometimes. Oh, I'm sorry, fam.
No, go ahead.
Now I was gonna say, I think some of the things that I know I forgot with Kane. I don't know how y'all felt, but growing up, I always felt like these rappers was my age. You know what I mean? We're like Kane was,
thought they was older niggas.
yeah, see, I always thought they was my age. So like for me, like I'm 14, Kane 21. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, they were saying Kane would be riding around his Volvo listening to the OJs and oldies music. You know, like he wasn't blasting hip hop. So when he got into his sexy thing, that was just his old man coming out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, this rap shit is cool, but I'm into, you know, I want to rock with Patti LaBelle. I want to get with Quincy Jones. Like, these are the people I look at. And then when he started living out that dream, we was like, nigga, we don't fuck with Quincy Jones like that. Not like that. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, we don't want no back on the block, nigga. We want another Raw, you know. So I feel like that was in with him. With Rakim, sometimes I wonder, being a producer, dog, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. A lot of MCs can't pick beats. They just can't. They need help. And here's the thing that some people look at it that like that's a knock on somebody. I don't. I just think that you can be an excellent wordsmith, but not be able to put it all together. Right. I tell people, you show me a house, an empty house, and I'm like, God damn, what I'm gonna do with this house? Like, I can't see shit. Like, I'd have to go to IKEA, see it already laid out, and be like, okay, bring that whole room over here. Right, just give me all of this, just this room right here. There's somebody else who sees that empty house and is like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill this shit. Like, I'm gonna put this there, I'm gonna put that there, boom, boom, boom. That person isn't better than me. It's just that that person can see, can visualize what they can do with an empty space. Not every MC can do that.
I think you have three things there. I think you have an MC, you have a beat maker, but then you also have a producer. The producer is the guy who can put those songs together to match that MC and to match that beat maker style. And that's how you get, that's a real producer is how you get a good song.
Right. Right. And I mean, I think for a while, Rakim didn't necessarily have that. You know what I mean? I know on Let the Rhythm Hit Him, Paul C was producing that album. He got murdered. Then Extra P came in and kind of produced the rest of that album. And then I think after that, it kind of was like up in the air. You know, his joint with it has been a long time. It was solid. I would have loved for Premier and Pete to do the whole album. You know what I mean? Or I think the
18th letter I thought was amazing.
I mean, like, I think like if that 97, I think if you get a primo, a 97 primo with a 97 Rakim, I think we're looking at a 5 mic album right there. Like you said, fam, that time he spent on with Dre, those was kind of wasted years. You know what I mean? So
when he made the master.
Yeah. So, you know, those were kind of some wasted years. You know, all we really got from him was that verse on Truth Hurts.
Truth Hurts.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing with them too. So like you said, and then of course, Cal, like you said, with Slick Rick, he got locked up. So I love that your second tier kind of to some extent had some roadblocks in a way that kind of kept them from becoming, you know, what they could have become.
First to second tier.
So I did my second tier a bit different. Because a lot of the guys that y'all mentioned, the LLs, I think they still can go up in tier 1. The tier 2 guys for me were guys that did 2 or 3 of those things that we said that all the legends do. You know what I mean? With longevity, discography, skill level, impact. So 3,000 is in my second tier.
Okay.
Common Sense is in my second tier. Talib Kweli is in my second tier.
Wow.
And Eminem is in my second tier. So see, I all these guys have a lot of the things that they all talk about, but there's one glaring thing that like they don't have. Like, I don't think Common has like I Used to Love Her, which is a song that touches every hip-hop nigga. But Common didn't have a bunch of records that just like hit everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think he had classic records in two different eras, which I think is really crazy for Common. I think Quality's influence is insane. I think Quality is a classic. He's part of one of the greatest duos of all time. But there was something in Quality's career that didn't connect widespread. we never got the albums that we wanted from 3000. You know what I'm saying? We got classics with Outkast. We got classic features. His penmanship is widely accepted as great. He just doesn't have the albums, and M is one of the most skilled rhyme writers of all time, but a great deal of his content doesn't connect with a great deal of hip hop's audience. So there's greatness there. I mean, he had, you know, the big records and Stan and dope albums, Slim Shady LP and Marshall Mathers, but there's just, you know, that one part I think is way down on the scale, which puts him in the second tier of rappers. Now, with the third tier, it's just there's one thing that these rappers do really, really well. So Black Thought is in my third tier of MCs. My favorite rapper, Fonte, is in, well, I guess I put him in the third tier because he just hasn't had the reach, but there's nothing he can't do as an MC. He's my favorite rapper, so you know what I'm saying, he gets the most run. But
now, can I ask a question?
When
you say he doesn't have the reach, what do you mean?
He hasn't had a record that affected everybody, like one of them records. You know what I'm saying? That just everybody knows. There isn't.
Do you take like the fact that he's coming out post 2000 into account? Like, does the time, like, because I'm just wondering, like, what artist like post 2000 that's not on a major label really has had a song? Or maybe a better question is like, what would be a song that you would define as everybody? Like, what would you say? Like In the Club by like 50, like something like that. With
or even something as Be Alright by Kendrick, something that recent. Which and the dope thing that people don't talk about is the top three niggas of the era is Cole, Kendrick, and Cole, Kendrick, and Cole, Kendrick, and Drake are like the three top big niggas. All of them can draw lines directly to Little Brother and Fonte, which you know what I'm saying. Also on my third tier, whose penmanship is listen, some of the best I've ever heard. He's actually put out some of the best albums I've heard over the last 4 or 5 years, man. Royce 5'9". He also just hasn't had that one record. And Redman. Redman is in that third tier where everybody loves him, man. Everybody loves him. I don't know if Redman has a certified 5 mic album.
Most people, if they're going to give him a certified 5 mic, they're going to say Muddy Waters. I don't think Muddy Waters is necessarily a 5 mic album, and I love Redman.
It's crazy because all the folk I know with Redman, I got What Is a 5 mic album. I know people who give There's a Dark Side 5 mics.
That's my favorite Redman.
And I know people who give Muddy Waters 5 mics.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. That's very fair. I think Muddy Waters is Red's best album, but it's not a 5 mic album.
Okay.
Word.
And I said Black Thought, right?
Yeah, you said Thought. The only reason why I asked you that about Tigolo, because I would almost say Tigolo, like when you said the third, and I love the fact how you breaking your tiers down. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like Tigolo, when you said the third tiers, you do one thing good. I feel like Tigolo does everything good. Like, and because he's never been on a major label too. So I kind of feel
he was on Atlantic.
Great, huh?
The Minstrel Show was on Atlantic.
I mean, but that was like Atlantic through ABB. You know what I mean? Wasn't that like through? Wasn't it like he was?
No, they were direct. They dropped their album directly off to them. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they had to.
And see, I guess for me, I'm always looking at it like, you know, to me that Atlantic isn't a hip hop label. You know, so when you look at Cole, who has Def Jam, when you look at Kendrick, that has Aftermath and Top Dog, when you look at Drake, that has Young Money, that at that time was just crazy. You know, I'm just the type that I'm always like looking like, yo, who's your sponsor? Like your basketball team is sponsored by Nike. Y'all gonna have some fly ass jerseys, my team is sponsored by fucking, I don't know, and one. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna have the same type of gear you got. But again, I just think Fonte does everything great. And for me, it's just him being on an indie label is kind of like, I think that's what shit. Drake is nothing but a light-skinned Fonte who's not as good. You know what I mean? So
that's a fact. That's just listen. Every Father's Day, Drake should send Fonte a card.
Yeah,
every single Father's Day.
Wikipedia says that the Minstrel Show CD came out on Atlantic, but the vinyl was ABB.
Yeah, they held up the vinyl.
Yeah. That's interesting. Anyway.
So who wants to go with their third?
I'll go with my third, unless you wanted to go, Kill.
No, knock it out, Cal.
All right. I'm glad Redman. I would love to put Redman is personally like my favorite, but that's Jersey all day. But yeah, he's the I do think I wish, and as he gets older, he still keeps going, but I don't know what his album is going to sound like in this era. But I do wish he had like that certified, like critically, everybody you cannot dispute. You can't even have a conversation. But Muddy Waters is great. There's a Dark Side's my favorite, but he don't like that album for he was on drugs or whatever. But so Redman, G-Rap, that's where G-Rap's is. G-Rap still got some. There's just some of them songs, some of them verses, the pictures that would. I love seeing the videos for G, but like I would just close my eyes and listen to the song because you could just see everything. It was he was one before I started hearing some other cats. Like Slick Rick was a good visual rapper, but G-Rap painted those. It was a lot of darker. That's what I went to. The stuff that I would go listen to Prodigy for years later, kind of that's kind of where I go from. But Busta Rhymes is in my third tier. I think I like Busta. I used to like Busta Rhymes more than I do now, but I think Busta Rhymes hit a really interesting wave, especially when it comes to the visuals, being on top of the game, but the music videos still being able to be very unique, very just bugged out, like being able to throw that much money on screen to be all these different characters and doing all this wild shit and still rhyming crazy. I don't know, and he's still a dope MC. I never did understand why Busta Rhymes kind of started rapping more about dealing drugs, because it always sounded weird to me to hear him talking about bricks of coke. But anyway, and finally, my last one in that tier is Doom, who I would love to put higher as well. But I think a lot of people didn't really get into Doom on a wider appeal. I'm in here by myself, baby. But the one thing with Doom is that he owned a lane. I think when you come to the we're talking about independent artists, but like really like self-sufficient, like at a certain point, all them beats is his, all them rhymes is his. It's him. He's got these bugged out cons. The first time I listened to one of them tracks on Doomsday, and I didn't realize the scheme that he was rhyming it until he mentioned it. And I said, wait, what? So then I started the track. I'm like, damn, he really was rhyming it. He was just such a gifted writer who I think was kind of, I mean, he was in his own zone. So at a certain point, it stops being available for the masses to get into it. But very, very unique individual. R.I.P. Doom. For real.
No doubt. My third tier, we're going to go with Queens, Pharoah Monch. You know what I mean? One of the dopest MCs. I call him the hip hop Sade because he like drops every 8 years. Like Monch is gonna keep you waiting forever for something new to come out. Number 10, I got Cube. A lot of people, I work with teens, and some of my teens will be like, after they saw Straight Outta Compton, they was like, "Yo, Mr. Kim, Ice Cube was a gangster rapper." I'm like, "Nigga, was he? He was the gangster rapper." But I gotta understand. My kids know him as Friday. They know him from Barbershop. They know him from Are We There Yet? This next generation don't understand. Cube on Straight Outta Compton. Cube's America's Most Wanted. Cube's, just everything Cube did. 11, I got to go with Chuck D. To me, one of the most powerful voices in hip hop. I mean, to be honest, It Takes a Nation is probably in my opinion, the greatest hip hop album ever. The first album, Yo Bum Rush the Show doesn't get as much love as I think it should. Fear of a Black Planet. When people be like, yo, Kill, but does he have a Shook Ones? I'm like, nigga, does he have a motherfucking Rebel Without a Pause? There was a summer when every car riding through every neighborhood across the planet Earth was blasting Rebel Without a Pause. Does he have a motherfucking Welcome to the Terror Dome? Like, I get it. Shook Ones was the shit, but Welcome to the Terror Dome, man, would fucking tear the roof off the goddamn Spectrum, off Madison Square Garden. I ain't talking about the small garden. I'm talking about the garden.
What an amazing question.
And then number 12, I'm gonna go with Common. I've not been a fan of his music post his acting career, but pre-acting I mean, bro, like Water for Chocolate, One Day It'll All Make Sense, B, Resurrection, like just, and he really showed me something with B, because that Electric Circus, when he's talking to deaf women with fucking sweaters on with fucking cue cards, that shit was horrible to me, bro.
Man, that's a good song. Come Close is a good song.
I hate that is a good song, but
I can't
Mary
say
J.
that
record.
I don't
You
listen.
want to know what hell would be for me? Put me in Walmart for eternity with fucking that album song.
No, the album.
Even a song. Put that song on.
Circus. What about that other album?
Ultra Magnetic? Yeah, Ultra Mag. Yeah, that was. I never even listened to that. People were like, if you didn't like Electric Circus, don't even do that to your ears with that album. I've never.
What was the joint right after B? Where he was still messing with.
After B was not the Dreamer. That's the joint where he got back with No ID. The one after B was hold on.
Finding Forever.
Yeah,
Finding Forever is dope.
Just Finding Forever
has some bangers on it.
Then there's
some bangers on it.
Then there's Universal Mind Control.
That was
I don't think I listened to that at all.
Yeah, I never even listened to that. And then he bounced back with The Dreamer, the Believer, which was him and No ID coming back together. So again, Com kind of has that LL every other album feel towards the end of his career. But I felt like Com definitely was a dope rapper. So
no, I think that's what's up. I didn't even think of putting Com in mind, and I feel bad because
but it's funny. If you look at our list, aren't really that different, right? And I think that is what causes folks to have these ideas that there are such things as hip hop facts, man.
It's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up this conversation and throw it over to our future selves. But Kill, before we get out of here, you want to shout your socials out before we, you know what I mean?
No doubt. Kill 889, Twitter, IG. We'll make beats for food. You can dig into everything over there, y'all.
I understand that Kill is from the Northeast, so he doesn't mean it at disrespect. However, Philadelphia. Matter of fact, me and Kill ain't even cool this week.
I have to say, y'all not even
saying. Me and Kill ain't cool this week. Nothing Philadelphia is good for me this week.
Damn.
Philly,
you a Cowboys fan?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Oh, snap. I thought you was a Ravens fan.
We had a whole conversation and y'all didn't realize y'all had beef this week. That's fun.
No, I did. I knew. We are not cool this week. You know what I'm saying?
I apologize, good brother. I apologize for this L that y'all about to take, man. I mean, but I'm not even happy about the L. Unless Dak is playing, I don't like playing teams when they're not at their best. This is it.
All this pressure is on y'all. There's no pressure on us, baby.
I never enjoy those type of wins. Like even if we win, if Dak isn't at not just coming back from injury, but if he's not that, I don't even really want that win. I mean, I'll take it. Fuck it.
I mean, at this point
in front of you, but I've never been a fan of that. I'm not that Eagles fan that's like, oh, good, he's out, so we could beat him. Nah, that not the way I was raised.
But at this point, y'all at a point where y'all better win, right? Y'all are 5-0 best in the league, is what the folks saying. If Hottie Doody come in there and beat y'all after he went
It won't be
After
Howdy
he
Doody. It'll
went-
be the defense that beats us. It'll be y'all
That's
D
a
that
fact.
beats
Because Howdy Doody threw for 102 yards, and Stephen A. Smith came in there. Cooper Rush is the great guy, nigga. You want him over
Yeah,
that? Cut it out.
if we take
You
that, if we take that
let
L, it'll be the defense that holds it down for y'all.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, fam, Cal, take us out.
Shout out to everybody checked out this this conversation about the second tier legends. Round two, you back?
There we go.
We good to go. We good to go. That was a fun conversation. It was it was good to see found along in the chat. Semper Vivi and people, they was talking about it, and Semp's like, yo, we need to run that back. So who knows? Maybe second tier legends round two.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out at some point.
Yeah, we can get some other folks tiers that, you know what I mean, shout out to Brock Biz, Math, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was a good conversation, man. I had fun. It's the new guys, man. The new guys. Show it up, show it out. Shout out to y'all, man. Fun times to see.
We working on it. Did you have anything else you wanted to shout out before we got out of here?
Hey man, other than setting those pine, you know what I'm saying, black wrestling every week, I would, you know what I mean?
Where's
shout out to
Buffy.com?
Where's Buffy.com? Yes, sir. Shout out to Diz, shout out to Brock, shout out to Brother Matt again, man. Yeah, man, we're gonna have more of these dope conversations coming up for y'all. The game is winding down, little family's getting busy today. He's doing all right.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I ain't gonna hold you then. Shouts out to the chat. Peace to y'all for keeping it live. We'll check y'all next week. Where's Buffy podcast on YouTube will be with y'all Tuesday. Every Tuesday, the Buffy is back. Peace.
Peace.